Nico Robin is a special character in the story of One Piece. I've always felt deeply intrigued by her personality, because her actions invoke a series of emotions and thoughts in me like no one else in the story does. As if there was something about her character that was speaking to me on a level that my mind wasn't really expecting from a story like One Piece. A sense of destiny and importance that usually is reserved for no one less than the protagonist, or maybe the antagonist. Despite being one of the main characters of the series and holding a unique position in the world, Robin somehow always manages to stay in the background, shrouding herself and her thoughts in deep mystery. As a result, there are several reasons why I found the epithet of Lightbringer so incredibly fitting for her character. Lightbringer is the literal translation of Lucifer, an angel fallen from God's grace, or in other words, the devil. As the sole survivor of the genocide on the island of Ohara, throughout her life Robin has been marked as the Devil Child, an attempt by the world government to silence and discredit her. Because Robin's knowledge and interest in the history of the world is one of the, if not the biggest threat to the world government. Being the only person left in the world that can decipher the language of the ancient kingdom, she's the only person capable of learning the truth about the Void Century. But while knowledge of the true history is something that the Gorosei and Imu want to keep buried, the poneglyphs hold the key to even greater threats. Namely, information on the 3 ancient weapons that are capable of waging a war on a global scale, and the location of the final island in the Grand Line, Raftel, that is closely connected to the birth of a new pirate king. In other words, Robin is the key to everything that is a real threat to the system of power that the world government has established. The only person in the world that can bring destruction and chaos to the world order they have built for the past 900 years. It is no wonder then that Robin is seen as the devil of the One Piece world, the person capable of breaking the wheel if you want. Good thing Robin doesn't have a dragon though. Ironically enough though, all these reasons have also led to Robin's second epithet, the Light of the Revolution. Her unique skills and positioning in the world have become a source of hope in the opposition to the world government, the revolutionaries. Without her, the world will most likely never be changed. So while Robin is the Lucifer to the world government, she is also the light of hope for the revolutionaries, fighting for a better world. I think calling Robin the Lightbringer reflects really well on her character being a two-sided coin. Since we have no real idea of what Robin already knows about the world and how she plans on using that knowledge, she is a real wild card in the story that could get grave importance again at any moment. Combined with her calm and quiet personality, I think it's fair to say that maybe next to Zoro, she's the most mysterious of the Straw Hats, since there is so little we truly know about her. So who is Robin, and what makes her character so unique in the story of One Piece? The way we got introduced to Robin was very different from anything we had gotten for any of the other Straw Hats up to that point. Robin was a mysterious and immensely interesting antagonist of the Straw Hats during the Baroque work arc. Her contradictive actions, helping the Straw Hats in some ways while then opposing them again in others, led to a quick fascination with the character for me. Only slowly do we learn that Robin only joined forces with the warlord Crocodile to follow her own ambitions. The image we get of her is that of a ruthless assassin that used any means necessary to get what she wants. So despite Luffy's kindness towards her, it was a true twist in the story when she suddenly appeared on the ship, inviting herself to join the crew. In retrospect, however, I think it makes a lot of sense that Luffy saved and accepted Robin on his ship. Because as we learned from Rayleigh during the time skip, Luffy has the ability to sense a person's true intentions. So while Luffy was already aware of Robin's true nature, it took us a whole lot more to truly understand Robin's character and motivations. And I dare say that this process led to some of the best arcs in the story. The timing and pace that Oda used to place Nico Robin in the story was simply amazing when looking at the story up until the time skip. Having a mysterious and complex antagonist with a cool and dark vibe turn into an ally and then slowly revealing the history and impact of that character? Everything about this character introduced a new level of complexity and heaviness to the story that didn't really exist up to that point. Robin's past, the genocide of her people, her lifelong run from the grasp of the world government, and the loneliness and heartbreak she experienced really hammered in what One Piece was going to be about in the long run. With Robin, we were introduced to the poneglyphs, and with them to the mystery of the Ancient Kingdom, its weapons, and the source of injustice in the world. With the introduction of the CP9, we were shown the cruelty and ruthlessness with which the world government operated, and how corrupt and unjust the entire system truly was. With Robin, One Piece changed its nature and scale of complexity. It went from a young boy trying to find the ultimate treasure in a world of pirates together with his friends, to a political and complex story about healing the world and breaking the unjust and cruel system under which the world is suffering. Robin as a character is constructed in a way that mirrors everything that is wrong with the current system. When she joins the crew, her greatest weaknesses are her deep lack of trust in anyone but herself, a great lack of self-confidence and self-worth, and a strong sense of loneliness and isolation. All these things can easily be tracked back to her past. While she had already been tormented by her uncle and his wife and feared by the other children for her devil fruit powers, it took the entire cruelty of the world government to rob young Robin from all her positivity and hope. First, her mother and everyone she knew were murdered in front of her eyes. Then, they brainwashed the public into believing that Robin was the last survivor of a group that was trying to destroy the world by finding the ancient weapons. They robbed her of any chance of refuge or care. So Robin had to grow up on her own, hiding and on the run. As a result, Robin has a clear moral problem that her character needs to solve. Her inability to trust and open up to others keeps her from following the path she actually wants to go, to learn and to live in peace. While she's actually a very kind-hearted and caring person, her tragic past has forced her to put up a wall around herself that keeps her from making any friends. And since she doesn't trust anyone, she ends up hurting those around her as well, by manipulating and using them for her own interests. When she's taken by the CP9, even though she already wants to protect the crew, her inability to share her thoughts and feelings with others end up hurting her friends. The big challenge for Robin's character was therefore to overcome this wall that she had built around herself and once again allow herself to open up and trust others. On the surface, at first glance, Robin's dream doesn't really seem to be connected to this need. Her dream is to learn the true history of the world and uncover what was lost and hidden. Given her heritage of Ohara and her passion for archaeology, this of course makes sense. And I hope you agree with me when I say that Robin's dream is a lot more relevant to the actual plot than some of the other Straw Hats. Compared to Brook or Sanji, for example, whose dreams are more personal, Robin's dream is directly connected to opposing the strongest political and military force on the planet. Her dream goes hand in hand with reaching Raftel and making Luffy the Pirate King. I had a real click moment in my head when I saw how perfectly that dream fit in with her character. But going back to her moral problem, Robin also has a second dream that is actually on a more personal level. Robin wants to find someone to protect. And in that sense, she is already in the unique position where she's aware of her moral problem, something that usually takes a very impactful event to uncover. In Robin's case though, it simply shows us how deep her vulnerability really goes. Even though she knows that she wants to love and trust people, she has suffered too much to overcome it herself. Both of these dreams also go really well hand in hand with the values that Robin holds. As we keep learning over the course of the story, Robin is a much more positive person than she appears in the beginning. She actually strongly values trust, kindness, and relationships in general. Her twisted sense of humor seems to be a result of these ideals and the harsh reality she had to live in. Being a woman of science, similar to Chopper, she also highly values knowledge and the way it is used. Also, as you know, being the most political amongst the crew, Robin clearly values peace, which is why we can see Robin at her happiest when she's reading a book on board of the ship out at sea. Most importantly though, Robin finally learns to value life. Not only life of others, but especially her own, which is one of the greatest moral messages of Oda in the entire story, I feel. Because being able to love yourself for who you are is probably the most important factor in growing as a person and finding happiness. Based on these values and her past, Robin is an incredibly intelligent and knowledgeable character. Being at the center of political interest, she probably has the most realistic and complete view of the world in the crew. And having to survive all this time by herself, she has learned to play smart and also dirty if necessary. Together with her calm and collected manner and her, for me personally, hilarious dark humor, I would say that she has developed a really strong personality. And since she plays such an important role in the story, Robin of course has also gathered a number of powerful opponents that only maybe Luffy can come close to. Being on the top wanted list of the world government and all its organizations, Robin has enemies all over the world, including the citizens. Additionally, pirates and other organizations also crave her skills, putting her at danger anywhere she goes. To best illustrate how all of these factors come together in the story, let's now take a look at Robin's character arc. I think that it will not come as a big surprise to you when I tell you that Robin's main character arc took place over the course of two major arcs: the Baroque Work Saga and the Water 7 and Enies Lobby arc. First being introduced as an antagonist, we got to know of Robin's dark and mysterious side, basically the result of her tragic past. Her character only begins to truly change though when she's rescued by Luffy from the tomb in Alabasta. Upon deciding to join the crew, since she has nowhere else to go, Robin slowly starts to experience friendship and kindness as she hasn't since she met Saul on Ohara. She was slowly accepted by the crew, and even though she didn't truly feel like a part of them, she still learned to appreciate this new and positive environment she found herself in. So after simply being a normal part of the crew for the entirety of the Skypiea arc, Robin started to feel connected to the crew. Her moral problem and lack of self-confidence though led her to leave the crew behind to protect them from the influence of the world government. She wanted to shield the Straw Hats from the greater scheme of things and keep them out of the world of politics and safe from any prosecution. By Oda making Enies Lobby into a major developing arc for the entire crew though, he made the message to Robin even more powerful. Her friends would not only stand behind her, but overcome their limits and become stronger just for her sake. They were prepared to take on the biggest power in the world just for her. Luffy did not simply put her above his interests, he made her part of them. The entirety of the Enies Lobby arc is simply amazing, how Oda was able to bring together so many different elements and push the story in so many ways, all by creating Robin the way she is. So when she sees how important she actually is to others, she is finally able to overcome her inability to put trust and hope into others and opens herself up to the Straw Hats. I think that it's no surprise then that this moment is one of the most impactful ones in the entire story. At the same time, Robin is also able to achieve one of her dreams and has finally found someone she can protect and care for. She was truly able to challenge her basic beliefs and in the end managed to overcome her weaknesses and break down her wall. I can say with confidence that Robin's character arc up until the time skip is one of my favorite ones in fiction. So if you watched my video on Chopper, you probably know what is coming now. Because same as Chopper, I feel like Robin's character has a big problem. Because in more than just one way, her character arc has already finished by the time skip. And I do not complain about that. As I just said, I believe her arc was simply incredible and greatly set up by Oda. The problem is that I don't see anything new happening with Robin. Similar to Chopper, she has also lost her mysterious and cool vibe, and has now become someone with a funny hat that keeps in the background most of the time and smiles a lot. It sometimes literally feels like Oda has sucked all excitement out of this amazing character. And especially in Robin's case, I feel that that is such a waste. Because her character is so complex and has so many sides that there was more than one option to keep Robin relevant and fascinating. Isn't her character interesting enough to serve as more than just a technical piece in reaching Raftel and learning the truth? Because even though Robin has changed, the fact that she's still one of the most notoriously wanted people in the world shouldn't have changed. Robin has so many capabilities and yet never has played any major role in any arc since the time skip. She is so well versed in the political structures of the world and was part of the underworld herself. And yet in Dressrosa, as well as in Whole Cake Island, where the underworld and political structures played such a big role, she didn't play any. And apart from that, Robin has one of the most amazing devil fruits in the story. She could literally spy on anyone by creating eyes anywhere. She can create clones, but only uses them in very limited ways. She could maybe create additional muscles to power up her physical strength. But how in the world does it fit her smart and witty character that she decided to use her fruit to make giant arms and legs that aimlessly stomp around? Isn't that rather something that a Luffy or a Frankie would do, with all the opportunities this fruit has, especially for her character? Outside and inside of combat, this power could be used so much smarter. Even though I think her character change was handled amazingly, I don't think that overcoming her weaknesses and finding friends necessarily had to mean turning her into a plain character. Why not keep her edge and sinister vibe for a bit? Her smooth, confident, attractive, and dangerous personality is gone, and she is now easily overshadowed by strong personalities like Luffy, Zoro, or even Usopp. Now, don't get me wrong, as we have established before, Robin still has to play an important role in the story. We pretty much don't know what she was up to with the revolutionaries during the time skip, and she might very well still keep her secrets. She will play a decisive role in tumbling the world government and maybe even in creating a new and just world order. But I still wish that Oda would have left some of the fascination in her character and gave her some new character arc in the new world. Because Robin is the Lightbringer, the devil for the world government and the light of the revolution. And I think both of these roles deserve a little bit more attention and development. And maybe a new leather jacket.